Hello friends. Today we are going to create with spindles. Surprise! But we're going to make Christmas trees with spindles. I'm going to give you a little sneak preview. This cute little babe. And I used some spackling. Oop, just look at that goodness. It was a process. So come along and I'll show you how I did it. Let's get crafting. I cut this little spindle down and it had a hole in it where the rung attached to it, and I just put some of my homemade wood filler in there. I've shown that to you in previous videos, and I'm just going to use some of this white gesso to give it a good coat so our paint will adhere to it. We're actually not going to use paint. We are going to use some joint compound. I picked this up at Walmart right now. It is on sale for, I don't know, super cheap. It was like $6, regular 20 something. I don't know if it's that at all the Walmarts, but check your Walmart out. I have all these little paint spatulas that were my grandmother's, and you can tell the one that she used the most. I showed you it first. Now I'm just trying this little method that I want to do out on a piece of paper first, and it took a little practice, I'm not going to lie. And I'm not real sure that I even got the method that I wanted to look perfectly. It took me a little bit of practice. But I do love how this turned out in the end. And I will say, it's pink and it turns white when it gets dry. But it did not completely dry for about 24 hours. It was dry to the touch, but it wasn't really dry enough to do what I really wanted to do with it for about 24 hours. And I started working with it a little bit thick in some places and not in others. And I don't know, it just really took a little while for me to get the hang of it. But really what I wanted to do was make these little spatula prints. I've seen people do this in different projects on canvases and different projects, but I wanted to do it and then just go like in between those and just keep going up this spindle to make it look like a tree. And it was a hot mess, but I just kept working and kept working and kept working until I got it to look like I wanted it to look. Once I got to the top, I just kept going back over it and kind of smoothing out places that I didn't like, adding some where it needed it, taking away some where it didn't need it. And when I got to the top, I just kind of rounded it off a little bit. See, here I'm going back in with extra, and then I'm just kind of making some more little divots and using different spatulas for different ones. I think you could probably use a butter knife or whatever you have in your stash, whatever little spatulas you have. Now, it wasn't not completely dry. I should have let it dry 24 hours because it was kind of crumbling here, but it worked. I used some white paint and an old chippy brush and just did a heavy dry brush. Now I'm going to take weathered wood by DIY and some Saltwash. And I just mixed this to the consistency I wanted it. And then I mixed it up really good. And then I'm going to put this on the trunk. And you very well could do this or use your baking soda to do the method that we did on top. It would have worked probably just as well. But I wanted to try that with the joint compound, so there we go. So I just applied this all over the bottom of that spindle, and then I felt like I was decorating cakes back in my former life. Here I was putting it all around the bottom and then smoothing it around. And then I did end up putting a little piece of canvas drop cloth on the bottom of this to have a little base. Then I had these little stars in my stash. I did one with a little rose gold metallic, and I did not like the way that looked. So I went in with my silver rub and buff, and I liked that. I had a little piece of navy velvet ribbon that was absolutely beautiful, and I thought it would be really pretty hanging down from this, but it took away from the star, and I did not want to take away from the star, and I really wanted this to be very simple. I wanted the technique to be the star of the show. Okay, this was a table chair leg. We're going to call it a spindle. And we cut the part off that attached to the table so it will sit flat. And this was the part that sat on the floor, if you can imagine it. I also made an Olympic torch for my Camp Gigi theme this summer. And I think it turned out great. We used it the opposite way that we're going to use it today. Okay, let's get back to the Christmas tree. I'm going to use Monet's Garden by DIY and give it 1.5 coats. I gave it one good coat with stippling it down into all the nooks and crannies. And then when it dried, I just went back over it. And if it didn't have good coverage, I just dabbed the paint on again. And then I'm going to take some white. It's Cotton by DIY. Any white paint would work. And I'm going to use my chippy brush and give it a dry brush, a heavy dry brush, and just go over the entire thing across the texture. Go across it, not with it, so that that paint just sits on top of the details and looks beautiful. I love it. Okay, when we get done with that, I'm going to drill a hole in the top. So our little, oh, nope, not there yet. I am going to drill a hole in the top, but not yet. I've got these 3 stars that come in a, it's those stars that you get at Dollar Tree that come in a pack of 6 or 8, but they're so thin. Now they're great for lots of projects. This particular project, we're going to glue 3 of them together, and they glue together really good, wood on wood. I'm using the Type Bond Quick and Thick, and it doesn't, a very thin layer works really good and dries super quick because it's called Quick and it's thick, so that's a good name for it, Quick and Thick. And I'm just going to put it together. I'm going to put a few of those little clamps from Dollar Tree on it, and when it's dry, I'm going to paint it with Little Black Dress and a skewer as well. And then I'm going to cut the skewer down to just it on the back and leave enough poking out the end so I can stick it on top of our Christmas tree. Hope that makes sense. Okay, see what we got going on here? Okay, we're going to glue it down. I'm going to use some Type Bond and some hot glue because I want to move right along with this project, so we want it to go fast. I'm measuring to see where it's going to stop. We don't want to use any more glue than we have to make a mess. We can put a little bit of hot glue right there. We're just going to glue that baby down right there. Good job. Okay, then we're going to take our clamps. We're going to hold it down. We want it to stay down. Okay, we're going to set that aside, let that dry. Okay, it's good. We're good. Now we're going to take Golden Rule by DIY. This is beautiful. And I love doing it on black. You saw last week's video where I did that black and that gold on top with those nutcrackers. Same thing. We're just going to give it like a dry brush. I'm not even going to get as much coverage this time as I did last time. So we're just going to give it a dry brush all over the entire piece, front and back, just in case you can see it from the back. And then we're going to drill a hole in the top of that Christmas tree. But first we're going to finish this up and then set it aside. Now we're going to drill a hole. Drill a hole right down in there. I do use my center punch. I don't think I showed you that, but I did use the center punch to make sure that I get that drill bit to not dance around. I'm going to show you that on another project in this video though, so stay tuned. Now I'm just trying to get that glue, I'm feeling a little awkward right here, but just bear with me. It works. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to need to get that glue off my finger because I can't stand my fingers to be sticky. I'm trying to decide where I want to put this beautiful chiffon ribbon bow. And then I decide, well, let's just put it right here because we don't want to take away from that beautiful gold star. But yeah, I didn't like that. Tell me if you liked that. Yeah, I don't like that. So I decided to tie just a little piece there and then just kind of sit it right on top of that right there. We'll just put a little glue there and we'll just put our little bow right there. Let's just keep it simple. You could put some berries or some lights on it if you choose to, but I kept it simple. This DIY is as old as I am, but we're going to take some paper sacks. You could use these Amazon shipping bags, anything you have. we're going to take these little mini cones. You could make your own cone out of poster board or whatever, but I'm going to actually glue all these cones together because I wanted mine to be a little bit taller, a little bit sturdier. Don't ask me why, I just did it. Now I'm going to rip some strips, and I decided that I want to rip, what did I do? I don't know. I'm ripping right now I'm ripping strips because we're going to rip a whole lot of strips. But and we're going to make these, you already know what I'm going to do. I know you already know. We're going to make a bunch of loops, and we're going to glue them to the tree. That's what we're going to do. But then, and we're going to rip them all the same size. So I just went along and did that. But this is what I did a little differently. I decided, just in case that showed, or because I wanted it to be a flatter surface, I just decided to go and, go ahead and glue a couple of strips of the paper all around the bottom. Now, this is something that we did when I was in elementary school, all the way back, is we did these little loop things, and it's just such a cute little look, and it's so easy, and you can do it with things that you already have around the house, and it makes such a cute little design. And we are going to use a spindle in this project. Don't worry. Don't worry. We are going to use a spindle. We were going to get to that. We're going to take a little dark wax, and we are going to rough up those edges, almost like a little burnt look, a little dirty look. But I'm going to do that to all the pieces. Now, this is a small tree, so I don't have that many pieces to do, so it didn't really take me that long. So yeah, I'm going to just, take it on that little brush, and the bristles kind of go over the edges of that paper when I hold it like that, so it went really fast. Of course, I did speed this video up. I'm not really working that fast, just in case you're wondering. Okay, we're going to take a little Titebond Quick and Thick. Now, I used a couple different methods here. I started out this way because I thought this would be easier because it would give me a little bit more time to work. But it was a little more time consuming. So I did change it up on the next row. And it was messy. And I know I've told you guys before, friends, I do not like for my hands to be messy when I'm crafting. I don't like glue on my hands. I don't like paint on my hands. You can see I'm like rubbing my fingers together right there. I don't like it. So this is what it's looking like. Okay, there's one row done. Now on this second row, I decided to use hot glue. And it went so much faster, and it was so much easier. So I'm going to glue the two ends together, just like so. Then we're going to put that one in between the two that we just did. I know, you already know how to do this. Y'all have done probably more of these than I have. Okay, then we're just going to put the glue on the back of this one. Then I got smart and started doing it on the cone because that was smarter, not harder. Okay, here we go. See, just like so. Now on the first one, knowing where to put it was a little difficult, so it probably was smarter to put it on the paper versus the cone. But if you use a paper sack and the paper sack was folded, be sure not to use the paper that has the fold because then the loops don't hang right. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. Okay, so we're just going to do this all the way around. I'm not sure why I kept showing you so many of these pieces, but yeah. And they don't all have to be the same width, but they do need to be pretty much the same length, okay? All right, so I think this one was a little bit wide. Look, I'm trying to rip it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and glue it, and the part that overhangs, I'm just going to rip that off. Rip it off, then I take my little brush, put a little wax on it, move right on. Okay, when we get to the very top, I wanted it to still have that shape. So I just took my little tiny scissors and snipped it to a point. Easy peasy. And I did that every time I glued one on. I glued it down. And then I just snipped the corners and made it, there we go, make it point. Glue it down, snip the corners. Super easy. Okay, then I took, okay, here it is all finished. I showed you. I'm getting excited. Then I took some twine, just a little piece that I had. It was like a 3-ply, and I just ripped it apart, and this is what I had left over. And so I'm just going to wrap it around, wrap it around, wrap it around, because I need I'm gonna put a little angel on top. And so I need somewhere for her to sit. And she can't sit on that point. I mean, she's talented, but come on, y'all. We don't want her to have to sit on there. So I'm gonna take faded burlap. These are those little angels that you get in a multi-pack from Dollar Tree. And I've have a bunch of those in my stash, but her little wings were getting in my way. So her little wings needed to go for a minute. So I just put the heat to that glue and it came off really easy. I was afraid I was going to mess it up and have to, come up with a new thing there. You could put some little tulle, pinch up some tulle and glue it on there. That would be super cute. But I wasn't trying to find my tulle that day. I was trying to get this done. So then I just put a little bit of dark wax on those white wings and glued it back on there, put a little white wax on the body, put a little glue on there and sit her right up on top of that tree. And she's happy up there. Okay, this little spindle, you've seen me use some of these. They were white from a Jenny Lynn changing table, and I spray painted it brown. And then I'm going to here's my little center punch that hole, and then the drill bit doesn't dance around all over the place. And then you just drill your hole. Same thing. And then this was a little piece of a spindle as well. It was just a slice that I sliced off. Probably a slice of that one whenever I had my little spindle incident that sent me to the emergency room. Anyway, we're not going down that road today. Then I'm going to take this little skewer. Y'all have seen me do this method many, many times to help make things be more secure. I'm going to put this little skewer down in that hole with some glue and the same thing in the spindle. We're going to just put it in there and it's going to hold really nice and tight. A little bit of that's going to ooze out on the bottom of that spindle and it's going to stick to that little wood slice, that little spindle slice. Then I'm going to take Weathered Wood by DIY and just paint. It doesn't have to go all the way up because you're not going to see it. Then once it was dry, I took faded burlap and a fan brush and just going to give it a good heavy dry brush. It doesn't look like I'm doing that at first and it's not really showing up on camera good, but you'll see it in the final reveal or in a little bit that it's a really pretty dry brush. Then I took Clear Wax by DIY. No, Clear Wax, I think I have the Best Dang Wax by Dixie Belle, and clear waxed it. Then I'm going to put a little tiny piece of that floral, it's not foam, it's that styrofoam, and I'm going to poke it down in there with some hot glue so that that spindle will have something to stick to. And then I'm just going to glue that spindle. Yeah, I didn't show you that I waxed that spindle, but I did. We're going to stick that spindle up in there for a base. I also did not record that I put that little piece of a garland tie and some berries around the base. I hope you enjoyed all these spindle Christmas tree DIYs. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. Drop a comment down below, even if it's just an emoji. I like to know you were here. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.